Hello everyone, and welcome to Engineering Questions with Engineering Row, where we dive into questions that can help us become better engineers. So today we are going to try and figure out the answer to this question, which is inspired by questions from the University of Oxford. Link will be in the description. So a factory that produces 4 different types of tools: wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers and hammers. The production rate of screwdrivers is twice that of wrenches. Pliers are produced at twice the rate of screwdrivers and hammers are produced at twice the rate of pliers. If you randomly select one tool for quality control, what is the probability of selecting a hammer, probability of selecting pliers, probability of selecting a screwdriver, and the probability of selecting a wrench? So with these kind of questions, it's normally good to start off with visualization. Just help us understand the question more. So we have a factory, we have the wrenches here, screwdrivers, pliers and hammers. Now if you're interested in applications and to understand more about wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers and hammers, stay to the end of this video and I'll give a quick explanation of what these things can do to help you become a better engineer and understand what kind of tools the engineers use. And this is obviously the factory. Now to further help you understand the question, I just have a visualization of what's happening. So we have a screwdriver which is being produced twice the rate of the wrenches, and here just 2 people working on one screwdriver so it gets made faster. And then you have 2 people working on pliers, so it's times 2 the rate of screwdrivers, and the same with hammers compared to pliers, it's times 2 the rate of pliers. So to help us with the question after we visualized it, it's good to highlight key pieces of information. So we have wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers and hammers as the 4 different types of tools, and we have the rate that's given to us, so not the actual amount but the production rate, how fast it's being produced. We know that screwdrivers is twice wrenches, pliers are twice the rate of screwdrivers and hammers are produced twice the rate of pliers. And the solution to the problem we're trying to find is 4 parts. So we need to bear that in mind. There's not just one answer, and we're not even trying to find the amount, we're trying to find the probability. So 4 probabilities. So we know that could be in different forms, that could be in percentages or decimals or fractions. So that's a decision we'll have to make. It doesn't specify, so we can go whatever way we want. Now with these wordy questions, it's normally ideal to represent values with expressions and use equations to understand the whole question. So let W represent wrenches, screwdrivers represented by S, pliers represented by P, and hammers represented by H. So the production rate of screwdrivers is twice that of wrenches. So that would mean that S, which is screwdrivers, is twice that of wrenches, so 2W. Now, to do a logic check, let's test what happens if we let W, so the number of wrenches, or the rate of wrenches equal 1. That would mean that screwdrivers is 2 times 1, so that means S, the rate of screwdrivers production, would be 2, and that's what we want. So just to make sure you didn't get it the other way around, because that could be an easy mistake in this kind of questions. So we'll do the same for the other parts of the question. So pliers would be equal to twice the rate of screwdrivers, so that's P is equal to 2S, and hammers are produced at twice the rate of pliers. So we have 3 equations in total. looking at the question, there's no other solution. No other pieces of information available. Now, if we were trying to find out the actual values, something you should know is that since we have 4 unknown variables, we would have to we would need 4 equations. But we're not trying to find the actual values of wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, or hammers. We're trying to find a probability. So, to find a probability, I tend to find in most questions it's normally easier to represent it as fractions. You want to find the relative amount compared to each other because that's information we have and that would help you find the probability. So you can solve this in different ways, but I think the best way to solve something like this is by finding an expression for the total and then figuring out how much of each tool is the total, right? So for every question, it would be the total amount over the tool in question. So that could be either W, S, P, or H. So we have an expression for S, we have an expression for P, we have an expression for H, we don't have an expression for W. Okay, so since we don't have an expression for W, we can just find one with making W the subject, so that will simply be W is equal to S over T. Okay. So the total amount would be S, so total rate will be the rate of screwdrivers plus the rate of pliers plus the rate of hammers plus the rate of wrenches. So that would be 2W plus, that's S from here, plus P, which is 2S, plus 2P, which is H, and W is S over 2. Okay, so we can't really do much with that. What would be more useful is if we got all of them, so each of the tools, all in a variable that is the same. And we can do that by changing the equations so that they are all represented by the same value. And we can pick, let's say we want things in terms of S. Since we already have 2 equations already in S, so we have P already in terms of S, so P equals 2S, and W is equals S over 2. Now, S equals 2W, I mean, we don't need to do anything to that. S is just S, but H is equal to 2P, so we need to change one of these values so that there's an S in it. Now, we know that P is equal to 2S, so if I substitute that P into the H equation, we would have H is equal to 2 times P, which is 2S, and then we have H is equal to 4S. Okay, so now we have all of the tools in terms of the rate of S, which is the screwdriver, and we could have done this for any variable, we still would have got the answer. So now we can have a expression for the total amount, So the total rate would be S, which is just S, plus the rate of P, which is the pliers, but we've written that in terms of S, so that would be 2S. H, we've written that as 2P, but then we substituted S, so we have H equals 4S. And then we have W, which is S over 2. So it's supposed to be a plus. So the total of that, let's do the wholes first. So that would be 7S plus S over 2, or it would just be 7.5S. Okay, so we have an expression for the total. Now, because this is all relative, we can, just to get rid of the equation, we can times both sides by 2. So twice the rate of total would just be 7.5 times 2, which is just 15S. Okay, so now we can find an expression for each of them. So S, so the rate of the S, which represents screwdriver, would be, using this equation, 2 over total, so it'll just be S over 15S, which is equal to 1 over 15, because you'll just cancel out the S's. And then so this is 4S. P would be the same thing, so 2S over 15S. Cancel the S's, so that'll be 2 over 15. H, we've written as 4S over 15S. Cancel out the S's, gives you 4 over 15. And then W is S over 2 over 15S, which will give you different ways of looking at it, but basically 1 over 30. So to work that out, we can still cancel the S's, so that'll give you a half over 15, and then you can times both the numerator and denominator by 2. So that will give you 1 over 30. That's how I got 1 over 30. And there we have it. We have the answers of the probability for each tool. So hammer is 4 over 15. I wrote that out again. Pliers is 2 over 15. Screwdrivers is 1 over 15. And wrench is 1 over 30. That is the probability of each of the rates. Now the bonus part is just understanding what was used in these questions. So we have the tools. So tools are obviously things that we use in our day-to-day lives to build and fix things. But in the context of factories, engineers actually mechanically design this, and we use mathematical modelling to kind of design the shapes of these tools. And we also decide what type of material will be used that will make the tools resilient, strong, and facilitate their functions. We also have wrenches and spanners. So here we have someone using a format of a wrench or spanner. A spanner might be more popular to some of you. And you can see that the sides of the wrenches or spanners, so this shape here, would fit perfectly into some screws. So they're basically used to tighten screws or nuts or bolts. And these are used in furniture, cars, different infrastructures. And then we have screwdrivers. So we have someone sticking a screw into a piece of wall, furniture, and they are used to drive in screws into furniture. And we obviously have manual ones that we just use with our hands, and we have some that we use with electric screwdrivers. Finally, we have pliers, and these are used to bend, manipulate, and even sometimes cut. So we can see here someone is bending a piece of maybe jewellery using a plier, but they can also be used to cut wires, make it suitable